So, thank you for joining us, Sarah. Really looking forward to this. This is our second video in the series, a business series. And what Sarah's going to talk about today is lots of different things around identity and brand, pretty much everything she wants. Again, like last week, I'm not going to introduce Sarah. I'm going to let Sarah introduce herself. And then at the end of it, we'll have a Q&A. So, over to you.
Right, thanks, Keith. I probably won't talk too much about brands, if that's okay. I'm not a marketeer. I have some experience, but it's not really my bag. But if I just tell you a little bit about my background and who I am and what I do, that might help to start things off. So I'm Sarah Allison. I am a project manager at the University of Cumbria, and I manage a project called the Cumbria Innovations Platform. And it's a project that supports small businesses with all things innovation in lots of different ways. So that's my day job. I am under contract to the university probably till about September time, and then my project will either be extended or it won't. And through this kind of lockdown period, it's given me a chance to think about life after employment and what that looks like. And I've been wanting to set up my own business for a long while and never really been in the right place, if that makes sense, to kind of take things forward. So this period of lockdown has given me time to think about setting up a new business, what that means, and kind of putting the wheels in motion. So although I work with lots of businesses that are either in startup mode or they're established, and I support them in lots of different ways, I've never actually been in a position to set up my own business like you guys have. So I'm kind of learning as I go along from a personal perspective, but also drawing on the experience that I've had with other businesses as well. But one of the things that Keith and I were talking about yesterday and that we've talked about before is trying to really fathom out your identity as a business and as an individual as well. Because having been very clear about your purpose and your identity has a massive impact on what it is that you go on to do moving forward. I believe, and these are only my beliefs, by the way, I'm not an expert. And one of the things I've been looking at recently is to help me on my journey, if you like, are the logic levels. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with logic levels, but I suppose it's a coaching tool being overlaid with some NLP work. But it enables you to understand where you are in the world. What your beliefs are and your values are, and it helps you work through periods of change, which is where we are now. We're in a huge process of change. Our lives have changed dramatically. We're no longer free to do what we want to do in business and personally. The markets that we operate in are changing. Our client base has changed. It's just enormous. The changes that we're facing with are huge. So I've been working through my logic levels, and I just wondered if it might be interesting, useful to kind of just talk you through my journey so far. So I'm looking to set up a coaching business. That's what I'm working on at the moment. I'm partway through an MSc in coaching and mentoring. Something that I've been interested in for a long, long time, but never really felt confident in taking it forward. Struggled with my identity hugely, struggled with imposter syndrome. And I think, that comes back from the messages that I had in early childhood of maybe not being quite good enough, maybe, not being this, not being that. And those messages stuck with me for a long time. And it's only recently that I've been able to bottom out some of those kind of negative messages that I had as a youngster, and to be able to really focus on what it is that I want to do with my coaching business moving forward. And I think it's something that a lot of people suffer from, that lack of confidence, that lack of self-belief, the imposter syndrome kicking in. The number of people that I've spoken to recently that have gone through the similar process has been incredible. So logic levels, going back to logic levels, it's a pyramid kind of diagram to work through, and it has lots of different levels to it. And if you start off right at the very top of the pyramid, it talks about your purpose. What is your purpose? Do you know your purpose? What is it that you really want to do? Are you clear about it? If you are, then who are you? What's your identity? What is it you want to be? Do you know who you are? Has your identity changed at all? Are you like me? Have you been in a situation where you knew what you wanted to be, and you knew what kind of person that you wanted to be, but you just didn't really have the confidence to reach out and be that person because your old stories and your own experiences were holding you back? Where are you on that? The next tier down is your values and beliefs. What is it that you're about? What are your values and what are your beliefs? Are your business values the same as your personal values or not? I was watching a little LinkedIn clip. I think it was a couple of days ago. Simon, is it Sinek? Keith? He's gone.
No, yeah, it is.
He was talking about where if a person had a set of values in a professional sense, in a professional capacity, and they also had a different set of values personally, then somewhere you were lying, because the two should be aligned. And that's an interesting thought. But I've also heard recently where someone has said, well, if you look at a Venn diagram, two circles, your business values, the way that you want to operate your work, and your personal values, where the two cross over, in that central crossover is really where your purpose and your real values lie. So it's useful to revisit your values and your beliefs and be clear about what they are, because they can change, and they can change in reaction to circumstances. The next tier down looks at skills and knowledge. What skills have you got? What knowledge have you got? What do you need to acquire? How will you acquire? Can you get them from somewhere else? What is it you're good at? What are you really, really good at? Behaviors and actions is another layer. Is how I conduct my business now, is the way that I behave with my clients, with my markets, appropriate for now? Do I need to change my behaviors? Does that come through in my actions? Am I bullish in my business operations? Am I a bit of a wallflower? Do I let people walk all over me? What are my behaviors like right now? And then right at the bottom of the pyramid is the environment, the where we work and the when we work. And if we just think for a moment about our environment, that's changed, hasn't it? It's changed massively. Let's have a slurp of water. Our whole environment has been rocked. For some of us, it's minor changes, but for others, it's significant changes to the environment in which we do business and live. You know as well as I do, the challenges that's bringing for businesses and for us personally. The thing about working through logic levels is that you can work up and down the logic levels. So if you were to work through the logic levels in reverse order, looking at your environment in which you operated, it has changed right now that affects your behavior, your actions. It might impact on your skills and knowledge, because all of a sudden you have to operate differently. You have to acquire new skills. We're all online, you know, we're all doing different things. We might be manufacturing different products that we didn't plan on manufacturing previously. We might be selling things, we might be delivering different services, we might be volunteering, we could be doing a whole variety of different things. And do we have the skills and the knowledge that we need to have in order to operate in this environment that we find ourselves in right now? Have our beliefs changed? Have our values changed? They may well have done. They may well have done. We might have had to revisit them and really dig deep and think, okay, so where am I now? Where am I now? What, you know, the way that I've done business previously maybe isn't the way that I can do it now. You know, my values have changed. And all of this has an impact on our identity in this current time and our purpose, because our purpose may have changed slightly. We don't know. And working through this kind of pyramid, and I can share it with Keith. It's easily found online. It's been incredibly useful for me in just helping me to realign where I am in this changing world. And for me, there are opportunities, but that might not be the same for everyone. And if there aren't opportunities for you to carry on doing what you do, then, you know, what's the alternative? For some people, and again, we talked about this yesterday with Keith, the changes that you make now to your business might be appropriate for right now, but 6 months from now, do you go back to doing what you used to do, that you used to provide, that you used to sell, that you used to manufacture? Or do you come back to where you were previously? You know, are there opportunities along the way to do things differently? I don't know. There may well be. You know, we might have made an investment now in changing the way that we run our business, but is that going to be relevant still in 6 months' time? Do we have to go through the whole circle again? It's interesting. I mean, you know, these are just questions to bounce out there. So going through logic levels, I think it's a really interesting process, and it just helps you kind of reground, regroup, reassess, recalibrate. Yeah, it's a useful process to go through. I think talking with some of the businesses that I've supported recently, there's been lots of things around resilience popping up, business resilience, personal resilience. You know, what does that look like? And you know, there are a plethora of online courses about resilience at the moment. You know, they kind of come out of people's ears, but really it all boils down to acknowledging that something's happened and accepting it. And if you excuse my language, shit happens. It does. There are things that we cannot control. And if you were to go back to, you know, the old academic models, the pest analysis and all that kind of thing, there's political things we can't change, there's legislative things we can't change, there's all these things that we can't change. But what can you change? What can you do to try and continue your business? Be brave if you can be, you know, calculate the risk. You know, what are the alternatives? What could you possibly do? Can you do something differently? Or is it a waiting game? And you know, is your cash flow healthy enough to allow you to wait? Or do you have to change, and do you have to do something different? And again, you know, if you are having to do something different, go back through the logic levels again. Check out your skill set, check out your values and belief, check out your purpose. You know, where am I? What do I need to do? I'm not sure, Keith, if you want to dip in now. Is he there? Keith? Is he gone? And everybody's muted.
There I am.
Are you there?
There I am. There. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I can't see you though.
You should be able to. No? It's
Hang
probably
on.
because I'm spotlighted. Yeah, you're spotlighted, not me.
Ha, got you.
There I am. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad. But one of the things that we discussed yesterday, and I think it's really relevant to where we are at the moment, is this thing of control. Because a lot of people really feel as though they've lost control, and that can be of the personal life. Certainly, I've spoken to a lot of businesses that feel as though they've lost control of the business life because either they can't get into the office or the factory or whatever. So I've been discussing that with a lot of people this week and last week. So for me, I suppose that the question that I want to ask is, how do you retain control? How do you feel as though you are still in control when it seems to be changing? Not, it can be hour by hour, never mind day by day.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, Keith. It really is, because to an extent, we have relinquished control, forced, of certain parts of our life. We just have, and that's a fact. You know, we don't have the freedom to, you know, leave the house and walk and interact with people and do business in the way that we used to do. We just don't have that right now. And I think sometimes it's a case of accepting that. We need to acknowledge that for now, we don't have as much control as we used to have. But we have a choice. We can either focus on what we cannot control, or we can focus on the things that we can control. And if we can allow ourselves just that little bit of time to think about, okay, so what can I control? Realistically, what can I do? You know, and if it helps, bang it all down on a piece of paper. You know, use some of the coaching models if you need to. You know, the old, you know, grow model's great for this kind of thing. You know, what are your goals? What do you want to do? What is it you're trying to do to achieve? What are your goals? What's the reality? Where are you now? What does the reality look like right now? And what are the opportunities? And when I've coached people before, you know, we've talked about opportunities. I've said, right, okay, think about a desk, the big table. Write the opportunities down. Get them on the desk. Doesn't matter what they look like, but lay the opportunities down. Get them out of your head onto paper. On the desk, have a look. Some will be harebrained ideas that you're never going to be able to do in a million years. Get rid of them. Get rid of the options that don't stack up, that don't resonate, that don't really fit well with your purpose and your values. You know, really think about it. Be brutal. Maybe what you're left with is a couple of options that you can realistically take forward. And then obviously, how are you going to take them forward? What's the actions that you can take to get those options off the ground? You know, so there are theories, there are models that can help you with this, and coaches that you can help you work through this. But you know, there's been a lot talked about in terms of, you know, control recently, and yeah, and again, it's down to business resilience, isn't it? Understand what you cannot control, focus on the things that you can control.
I think also as well, for me, it's really nice with the Facebook group particularly, because we can ask questions, and because we all, as you said right at the very start, because we're now with the enforced lockdown, we're now starting to put faces to names, which is brilliant. So there'll be more of that, a lot more of that. And I think that's the nice thing. I think it's one of the things that Joe and I discussed last week was that this feeling of isolation,
Yeah.
you know, was really not. I think it's up to each individual person to either sort of embrace it and latch on to new technology,
Yeah,
or stick with the old way.
yeah, I think that's a good point, Keith, actually. As human beings, we have a deep-rooted need for connection. It's what we are. We are just social people. And I think when that's taken away from us, it puts us into a bit of a tailspin, because there's still the need and the desire to connect with people. And we have lost some control there. But by using alternative technology, we can still connect, and we can still do business together, and we can still collaborate, and we can still talk to each other, and we can still share ideas. It's just forcing us to think slightly differently about how we connect. It's the how we connect. and how we communicate that's key moving forward. You know, and forums like this are brilliant. I thoroughly enjoyed seeing you and Joe last week. It was just awesome. You know, we have some really, really lively conversations and debates face to face. So this was completely different. It was a different way of working. Excuse my partner there.
Go for a run.
Go for a run. You know, it was a completely different way of, you know, having to communicate with people. I could only see you on the screen, and I wanted to jump in and ask questions and get involved in the conversation. So this kind of forum, it's great. It's connecting people. It's keeping that desire to communicate.
Yeah.
It's, you know, a possibility.
Definitely. No, I totally agree. I think on that, what we'll do is we'll open it up and let the guys ask some questions. So what I'll do, guys, I'll just switch it across. Right, guys, can everybody hear me? Just say yes or...
Yes.
Yep. Fantastic. So, has anybody got a question for Sarah?
Or for each other.
Or for each other, without a doubt.
Yeah. How are you all faring? Are you managing to do business?
Yeah.
Do you want one of us to say something then?
Yes, it would be good rather than me.
Actually, Sarah, it's really interesting. When you were talking, I wrote a book with a couple of guys a few years, actually many years ago, and I had to go and open up the DILTS model that we put in the book, just so while you were talking, I could look at it and remind myself of what on earth it was all about. And it's like it's such a good model, and all of the questions. I mean, I've done quite a bit of scribbling. And lots of the questions you posed are great. So you've given me some extra things to think about. And I think the question I liked the most was, with the changes you've made now, are they going to be the changes you keep for later? Because I'll tell you what I did right when the lockdown came, was I asked myself 3 questions. What can I stop? What can I start? And what can I change? So I made a decision. I've got a couple of platforms that I've got courses on. One of them is a stack it high, sell it really cheap, but I've got almost 20,000 students on there. Very badly neglected because I got really ill in 2018, so I took a whole year out of work, and while I recovered, well, I didn't get myself ill. My spine fractured, and I had some other complications, but I took a year out. And so when the lockdown came, I started to do lots of decluttering. So I started to get rid of rubbish and stuff. And I went on to Udemy and I went, oh my God, look at all this stuff I've got. And it is so old. So what I did was I started to do a massive analysis. I researched what people were looking for. I looked at the reviews of my courses. I just sat there for ages, looking at, you know, who bought what was the most popular. So I sat down and I remade 3 courses that were on there. I've actually made 6 courses. All I've done is talk at my computer. I added up the other day, I've got 22 hours of me talking, plus the rewriting of all the slides. I mean, everything. I've just sat here, and on Thursday I stopped and said, that's it. I've done what, so I've got 6 brand new courses, and every day I've been coming on to Udemy going, ooh. So far I've got 100, I haven't counted them today. I've become obsessed with numbers. So I've started doing that again. When I looked yesterday, I had 115 new enrollments. Now they don't charge very much on Udemy. So, you know, don't be thinking I'm making a lot. I'm not making a lot. But what it showed me is actually there's a lot of opportunity there. So when I look at what I do, so some of the things I do, I make journaling books, and I have a journaling club on another platform. So every month now I've got a process. I can write a journaling book for my journaling club. I can turn it into a course. I can put it on my 2 different platforms. I can use it in different ways. I can make a journaling book for Amazon. And so I've created all these systems and processes. Sorry, I'm talking so much. But what I changed was my mindset. I said, I've got all of this content. I bet every single one of you I have got years of content. And okay, it's got to be updated. But I said, change your mindset. Stop thinking about people are in fear. Stop thinking about, you know, how can I coach another person with an expensive book program? Why don't I just sell what I've got? So that's what I've done. And it's a completely different mindset. So I'm starting my full marketing plan on May the 1st. This week I've got to change my website. But it's been an amazing experience. So when you're talking about those logical levels, I literally, without actually thinking about DILT, I've literally sat there and said, what can I stop? What can I start? And what can I change? And how can I have a business that will sustain me for now? And then you ask that bloody question, what are you going to do after, you know? And I thought, oh, I don't know. Because I'm actually loving, I've loved what I've done. But it's such a good question, because what I've done is I've molded everything to work within the current environment.
Mm.
I've created systems and structures and all sorts of stuff. And it's like,
You think you would have done that, Dale, if we hadn't have been in lockdown?
no.
No. Yeah.
Keith, I would have just left it. What I've done is I've got all the Stack It High courses on, you know, Sell 'em Cheap on Udemy. They're all on my Teachable platform as well, but I use them differently on Teachable because people can have coaching from me.
Yeah.
So if someone buys if they want to write the life story, for example, they can buy a coaching package. They get the course as well. So if I'm not around and they think, oh, how do I format the interior of my book? David, I'm sure that was one of your questions in my group once. You know, they can quickly go and have a look at the course and see how to do things and how to, you know, so there's a lot of technical stuff there as well.
Yeah.
So I've created similar things on different platforms and used them in different ways. And the answer is no, I would not. I absolutely would not have done it. And I am so pleased that I have, because I feel like a different person. I feel like now I've got a legacy. I've got products to sell. I've got books on Amazon, loads more books on Amazon. I've got all these courses, and they're all things that I truly love. So yeah, it's been an amazing experience. I'm tired. It's been an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that, Dale. Well, Tim, how has it changed for you? Because obviously you and I have known each other for a lot of years now, and I know what you do. Just explain to the guys a wee bit of what you do and how it's changed for you.
Yeah, Dale, that was a fantastic story there, and it's quite inspirational. And I think that as entrepreneurs, it is lonely. So going back to the point you're making, being at the top of an organization and you've got a load of people looking at you, say, well, what do we do then? Where are we going to go? How are we going to survive? How are you going to pay me? Etc. Etc. So just a quick introduction. Obviously, I'm a bit of a technologist, futurist, I guess. I think Keith would explain me or sort of say that's what Tim's about. Always ahead of the curve, or try to be. I'm looking at about where the next changes are coming, and that's come through 30 odd years of being in business, and also working for a PLC that lost its way and had a billion pound business that doesn't even get printed today, and that's because of decisions that were made about not looking at where the future was, and that's going back to the internet and the decisions which were made about where we were going for that. So obviously where we've had to our two prime markets were all about hospitality and leisure, and the reason for that is because there's a huge amount of consumer data which is consumed by massive businesses and actually used in completely the wrong way. And we were setting about, so my purpose was about creating a platform that enabled businesses within the legal ramifications of GDPR, etc., etc., to connect with their customer. So you can imagine we're in a hotel, restaurant, franchise area, but with obviously gyms, one of the largest franchise of gyms, all completely closed down. So we were just about to invoice around about 100 grand for the month, and couldn't raise one invoice. So that actually sort of brings you back to a bit of a, and I think the first thing is shock about, well, what do we do, right? So you go into this whole shock about, oh God, where's this going? So we've obviously our whole technology is built about to the person, and I think that what this is going to do, what COVID has done, is also will change businesses forever, right? We won't go back to the ways, right? And if it goes on for another 3 months or so, you've got people which are now getting used to working from home, right? So people which are working.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they have to go to an office if they can be just as effective and everything else? So the whole way that this world is going to change is going to be massive. I think it's brought us much better, more connected to our values as well for family. My girls have come back from university. We're now having meals in the evening, at the weekends, and it's been fantastic, right? So again, this whole community of family and everything else. So we've had to repivot. Now, it's not been hard in one respect, in the fact that our purpose is about connecting to the person. And I think the old values of B2C and B2B, that will change, and it is changing, right? And we're going to have a new trading economy, and it's about entrepreneurs. Like Dale, for example, what Dale's gone about is looking at her micro community. Okay, what have I got? Where can I go? What can I stimulate? How do I support that? Is going to be the big thing. And the ones which get hold of that right now, because for the next 3 months, everyone's in shock, right? We went for a walk on Sunday. I know I'm battling on a bit, but it's really important, I think, in terms of about where you are with your mindset. We're walking, we're coming back, we walk past a pub that we go to every now and again, completely closed up. And you go, wow. It's a reality of seeing things completely closed, right? That brings you back to a norm. And I think it's about, okay, we now have to get hold of this, right? And it's up to us as groups like Keith is doing. I know I posted about, leading and all the rest of it. It's the leadership now of the entrepreneurs. The 3% will change, will lead, whether that's in technology or whether that be in hospitality or whatever. There will be people which lead in their fields. And if we get hold of this and we build over, because we're in an L-shaped recession, make no bones about it. When have you ever seen a barrel for less, for less, right? For a dollar, right? That's going to have a massive effect. It's having a massive effect in the Middle East, have a massive effect in America and here, because that's where we obviously drive on taxes. So we're in this L-shaped recession. So the next 18 months is all about getting ourselves ready, right? Because we've been here before. We've not been here before with a pandemic in our lifetimes. But what we have been in L-shaped recessions before. And we know that takes about 18 months before you then get to with the growth. So it's this period now, and that's what I'm instilling in my team. What we've been looking at, we've been building different models. We're looking at different customer bases. We're obviously talking to existing customers, getting them prepared, because they will go back to, they will open the gyms, they'll open up the hospitality, the hotels, etc. That will happen. But what can we do in this next 3 months in actually opening up and advising other groups in order that we can help them? And obviously we have a technology that can. So that's
so how have you, like me, you're a very excuse me, you're a very face-to-face person. You like to be in a room with people because that's when you do your best work. How have you found it doing it this way? Not being as connected.
It's really hard. It is hard, Keith, because we are people led, aren't we, in our value and everything. So look, I think Zoom, we have over the last 10 or 15 years been utilizing Skype and other methods. So it's not new to us. And I think it's about, you also as well, in the old days, you get people where they just mute their video and they wouldn't want to be shown all this, that, and the other. And I get everyone to unmute. I go, no, I want to see you, right? I don't want to just hear you. I want to see you. So it's adjusting. And this, I think, though, as well, Keith, we will do more business like this.
Yeah.
There'll be no question. We're not going to get on a plane, right, for months, right? And as I do, we've got customers in the Middle East. I've got customers in America. We're opening up, hopefully, into Australia and stuff like that. Well, I'm not going to get on a plane. So it's got to be done in this way. So we've got to get used to it.
Thanks for that, Tim. Absolutely brilliant. Rose, I just want your perspective from being outside, because obviously you're in Spain. So
Yeah.
what's been the massive difference for you? And how has it affected you personally?
From a personal level, actually it's not affected me in a huge way. It's actually the boys' business that has absolutely come to a complete standstill. That they do swimming pool restorations, and we were actually booked up for almost the year. And normally they do one a week. So since lockdown, nothing. For me, I'd already made some decisions around Christmas time. As Keith knows, my career was in publishing in newspapers and magazines, advertising. And I was working for a magazine, and I decided it was no longer for me. I didn't want to do that anymore. And I'd started already doing some courses, some teaching English as a foreign language courses, with the intention of starting to teach Spanish, English. Then I came across a company that actually you can sign up with, and you can actually teach online. And then I thought, well, I'll start that first. But then the only thing that's changed is I've now decided I'm going to actually set up my own online teaching English. I can do both side by side initially while I build up my own thing. But I think out here, when the lockdown happened, we're lucky in that we've got the farm, we've got land. We're a big family. There's 7 of us here. A 6-month-old baby and a 4-year-old, grandchildren, not mine. And luckily we've got space. But I do know that that there are a lot of people in the actual village that are living in apartments. With young children. One of them's got 3. Well, she's got triplets that are 4 years old. But for us, I think mentally, when you were talking before and you said you can look at yourself and you can say, what can I change and what can't I change? I did that virtually. It was ever so strange. I hadn't thought about it till you said it, but I actually did that virtually as the lockdown happened, and I realised that there are things that we have absolutely no control over whatsoever. It affected my husband a lot more because he was the breadwinner, and suddenly there's no money coming in. But I actually feel really positive, and I'm really looking forward to a new career path, if you like, but one that I can fit in around what I want to do when I want to do it. And luckily the weather's starting to improve here now as well, so it's been very interesting. It's been very
it has, and I think that makes a big difference. It's surprising how many people have said, if it had been raining and cold, how many people would have just probably disregarded it. But because it's sunny, I mean, we're like you, we're lucky we've got 2 gardens, so we're okay. And there's only 2 of us. But you know, like for such as my eldest daughter Amy, who's got 4 kids, you know, she's only got 2 small gardens, so it's difficult for her. So everybody's in a different stage. But brilliant, thanks.
The schooling as well has been very interesting, the homeschooling, because obviously suddenly the children aren't at school. The teachers have been amazing. They're using WhatsApp, they're using videos, the kids can talk via these as well. The lessons have been emailed over, we've printed them out, and they're doing schooling every day. And one of my friends out here, his children are actually at the minute taking their exams via this sort of method on a one-to-one. They're taking exams. It's incredible.
And I think, as Tim says, I think it's one of those things that this could end up being the new norm.
I wouldn't be surprised, actually. I wouldn't. And when you think about all the driving about that you do, I mean, good Lord, my last car, the one that got washed away in the flood, when I got that car, it was a new car, and I had done 336,000 kilometres on that car.
God, Rose.
I know. It was sad to see the car go, but actually I thought that was part of the reason for leaving the job. Yeah, I just thought, how much of my life have I spent driving round in a car, and this not being able to do this driving, again, it was something that I'd already thought, I'm not doing that anymore. What can I do that's different? And this has forced my hand.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? I think it has forced a lot of people to sort of reevaluate what they do.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Rose. What about you, David? How has it affected you, or has it not?
Well, so, half and half, I suppose, Keith. You know, the biggest problem I've got is with all these people being at home, Amazon is totally flooded with junk.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get, to get people's attention because they're wading through all this, because all these people sitting at home have been uploading books to Amazon,
Yeah.
Most of them are just copy paste something off the internet so that's sort of the main effect it's had immediately. But the other thing, going back to what everyone's been saying, but Tim was what sort of triggered it in my mind. The last time we had one of these recessions, I was running a computer company. This was in the days when you could actually take computers apart and repair them, and we did repairs. And the interesting thing about the recession was for a good, well, possibly even for 18 months, as a maintenance and repair company, we did very well because people stopped buying new stuff and they started having the old stuff repaired. So there are opportunities even in the recession.
Yeah.
Repair and maintenance is a good. There's a good chance it'll be big again. Obviously electronics is one of the areas, but the other thing, of course, is with this we're getting so much more delivered, some goods, packages, everything delivered, that it's quite likely that's where the repair and maintenance bonus will be. It'll be in transport and mechanical handling of warehouse stuff and things like that.
Because they have talked about using drones for medication deliveries, haven't they?
Yeah, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, very sci-fi.
Yeah, I keep trying to get the grandkids to get me a drone for my birthday or Christmas, and they, no, you don't want one of those, Grandpa, Yes, I do, I want one. No, you'll get it stuck in a tree and you won't be able to get it down.
Yeah, you will. Thanks for that, David. Hazel, are you gonna send us your sponsored form?
Sponsored form?
Yeah, I just thought you were on a sponsored walk.
No. No. And what gave you that idea?
Just that you've gone from room to room.
Well, I know. Well, part of the thing is, I've got two shielded people here, so I'm moving from room to room.
Trying to keep away.
Well, no, because they're coming down and they'll be wanting to do something else. So I thought I'll move in the dining room, and then they came in the dining room. So I thought I'll come upstairs because there's nobody upstairs at the minute.
So for your business, how's it affected you?
Well, I seem to be the only one on here who's doing network marketing, and like Dale, I've changed companies, and like Dale, I took over a year out, not because I was ill, because my husband was very ill. And that was one of the I found the company that I'm with and it's helped him. I mean, I still buy off the other company, but I like the company that I'm with, and I think it's very relevant for now. Oh, I'm just going to ignore that. It's very relevant for now, but it feels like it boosts your immune system.
Yeah.
And it does. It's not a supplement. It's something that it's like I call it, think of it like a next level supplement, that it activates your body to do what it should do, to clear out the toxins, some of the toxins and crap that in the past, I mean, I'm pushing 70 now. In the past 50, 60 years, the amount of things that our bodies are assaulted by are immeasurable compared to what they were. And a lot of people, because of compliance, you're not allowed to make medical claims. But a lot of people, it just allows your body to work as it should.
Yeah.
But it's been a bit, apart from having two shielded people, and my sister had a big operation on her only working hand, and it's a good job she came here, because she would have been in an old people's home. She said I'd have been coming out in a box. But anyway, so she's come here, but for various reasons, they're all on different diets. So I'm making 3 meals and certain medications. So it's been a bit, I've worked towards doing a lot more online. I mean, we had a flipping inkwell monitor when I was at school. So everything I've learnt, I've kind of self-taught. And I've been working more online. And I think I signed up with Fraser Brooks, because he does a network marketing online.
Yeah.
But it's kind of how to approach people at a time where A, a lot of people haven't got money, but B, you don't want to be seen to be trying to cash in on people's fears. But on the other hand, it is something that definitely helps people and boosts their immune system. And it's one of the few, like when my husband was very ill, I said the only thing you can do is control what you eat. And I taught, like you said, you're looking at what your experience was. I taught healthy cookery and nutrition at the Vegetarian Society in Manchester, and I taught at further education. I taught at Carlisle College, and I just said to him, you know, you can either, he was told he would be in immense pain and he would be on massive amounts of morphine for the rest of his life. And I said, the only thing you can control is what you eat. I said, if you want to try and do what you can through diet, then I'll help you. And he's a lot better than he was. He'll never be well, but he's a lot better than he was. And I don't know, I mean, between both of them are up and down, but it's kind of I think I'm struggling with how to approach people without sounding like you're taking advantage of the current situation.
It's sort of like ethical marketing. There seems to be a lot of that now, whereas beforehand it was just, you know, every man for himself. I've seen a big switch in marketing. Sarah and I were talking about this yesterday, and there seems to be a switch to definitely a lot more ethical marketing. And I think it's just finding that balance, because yes, you've got to market, and yes, you've got to make money, but you're right, everybody's emotions are up and down at the moment. And I don't think, you know, and I'm not going to get onto this because I never really speak about politics or religion, but the media don't help, because that tends to go up and down. And there's a lot of it that I just refuse to listen to. Sarah, is there anything that you can say, that you can sort of, you know, that the guys have discussed that's, I don't know, that sort of can calm the waters a bit, if you like?
Oh, gosh. Put me on the spot there.
No, come on.
Can I say, Sarah, I think that, go back to the first thing you said about your purpose. And that, I think if you lead by your purpose, because I think that's going to be the new, because you've seen it, but people which are led by their own purpose,
Yeah.
if they know what that purpose is,
Yeah.
and they can then lead by that, then there's, you know, I think selling, this is not a time to sell. This is a time to educate, support, and from that you will help build sales. I think that's where we are, certainly in our thought process. I think go back to that, Brett. I think in terms of, you know, what are you about? What are you on this planet to do? What you're trying to achieve? All the things you said at the very beginning, I think is one of the things.
Yeah, I think it's so important. I don't think we're in a position to chase the cash right now, and I question whether that ever is a good strategy. Be really clear, or try to be as clear as you possibly can be about your purpose and about your identity. And if what you do really puts fire in your belly, and you really believe it, and it's absolutely feels the right thing to do, then the income usually, Keith, we talked about this yesterday, will follow. If all if all you do is being hell bent on the next sale, then in this climate that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
it's unlikely to happen. But what you can do is kind of regroup, reevaluate, recalibrate your own purpose. And just again, following on from yesterday, what we can do right now is watch and listen. Check out and see what's happening. Look at people's behavior, look at their buying behavior, look for the opportunities, and use this time just to kind of take a step back, take a different perspective if you can, and just say, right, okay, what's happening within my existing market, but what's happening elsewhere? Horizon scan, that thing that we all like to do, but we never really lift our head above the parapet for long enough. Scan the horizon, watch, listen, check out and see where the gaps are. Can those gaps be filled by you with your purpose and with your skill set or not? Just be mindful.
Sorry, guys. Apologies for my very, very late arrival. I don't know if you can hear me.
Hi, Stuart.
Yeah, I can hear you, sir. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Yeah, I've got terrible Wi-Fi bandwidth here, so I'm just having to do it on audio only. It's
no worries, mate. How are you? You okay?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, very well. Yeah, I've been listening for the last wee while, and I think it's really interesting, isn't it? We are in, as the old cliche goes, in absolutely and utterly unprecedented times, and I think that's one of the strengths, because there's the rule books to be ripped up and thrown away, isn't it? That's what I quite like about this. There's no rules anymore. It's actually about a whole new game, and a game that involves a lot more respect, a lot more humility, and a lot more long-term perspective, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah, I agree with that. I think that the nice thing for me, I had a conversation with a professor a couple of weeks ago. I don't know why she rang me, but anyway, she did, and we were talking about this sort of thing that sort of took over about 2-3 years ago, where you had to be working 24/7, 365 days a year, or you were a failure. And she was I put something on LinkedIn, and I think, not to labour the point and drag on, but I think one of the big things for me was that's all stopped. You don't hear any of that now. Everybody's had chance, like we've all said, everybody's had chance to sit back and recalibrate a wee bit, and that you don't need to work 24/7. As Tim said, and I think it's a really good point, is that if you search for your own purpose, then I think that whatever it is you want to do in business, if your purpose is right, if your moral compass is right, then it's going to work, and it will work at your pace and your client's pace, because this has forced us to do that. It's forced us to work at a pace that suits everyone. I was a bit of a bugger for looking at emails and thinking, how come they haven't replied? And WhatsApp my phone. When I had my incident in November, when I went into hospital, they said, you've got to switch everything off. You can't have notifications. You can't do this. You can't do that. And I had a set of rules. And that's followed me on. I don't do any of that now. So I think purpose is the right thing. It used to be why. Well, why do you want to do it? Because the how and the what always followed or came before. But I think now purpose is a massive thing.
Definitely.
Leading to whom?
Yes, yeah, and I think that's a good point. It really is. Anybody got any other questions or comments or?
I'll probably add a thought that just one of the things I've learned in the last 4 or 5 weeks is it's a really good time to look around and see who's in the same space as you. You know, I picked up with somebody this morning, and they're a really, really interesting business, and it's a virtual PA service that operates up and down the country.
Yeah.
And I said, look, we're currently working in this sort of model to try and help businesses get back to business. I said, that should fit with you. And they went, yeah, that really does fit with us, because actually, as I said, you know, some degree of how to control this situation and how to prepare to get back, and then how to manage getting staff into work again. You know, that's something I don't think we haven't even thought about. Is people have got very comfortable sitting at home, and they're going to have to get back to work, and they're not going to want to work, and they're going to get objective at somebody sitting next to them with social distancing. And for bosses and managers, it's going to be a really trying time. So anyways, I said to Emma, I said, you know, and she said, oh, you know, really appreciate you reaching out to me. I said, Emma, you're always on social media. You're always reminding people why you're better than everybody else, why you're different, why you're trying that bit harder. I said, it was obvious, you know, and I think that's where a strong presence about who you are, and what you stand for will make people come.
No, I totally agree, mate. Totally agree. I think it's something that a lot of people are going to find really difficult, is that when we all start to get back and we're back, you know, 100%, I know it's going to be phased. It is going to be a strange time for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Even me. And I've enjoyed working from home. It's been, you know, it's been really good. But I am looking forward to getting out and really interacting again with people. I do enjoy this, but it's nice to see people as well.
A lot of people will when we all go back to work, a lot of people will be expecting things to get back to normal, because a lot of people were comfortable the way it was normal. And the fact that things have changed, I don't know that makes it a new normal. It's just, I think we've probably got to go back to as we were before, and then start to replace the things that, oh no, why can't I stay home? I was fine when I got so much more work done when I was at home, you know. So there's going to be a period where neither of us know whether we're coming or going once we get, but which goes back to what Tim was saying about us all going into, you know, not being a bit of a recession, and you know, needing to get into your supply chain and make sure they're on the ball. So
definitely.
Once you get back to work, they can get their, you know, you're not going to end up with no toilet rolls on the shelf. Because, you know.
No, it's a good point, a good and valid point.
Manufacturing them for all the businesses that have closed down.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it? I had a meeting with my university team before this one started, and the question about getting back to normal was raised, and what that might look like. I am quite often in a large-ish office of about 5 or 6 people, where social distancing, you just wouldn't be able to do that. And fortunately for me, it doesn't really make that much difference in that I work from laptop, and I can work from home. I can work from other campuses. I'm fairly flexible in how I work. But something occurred to me when we were having the conversation, and it was around leadership. And as leaders, you know, I think some leaders are stuck in a mindset whereby to get the job done, you need everybody in the same place all at the same time, you know, working on the same objectives, and that's how it needs to be. You know, it's kind of, that's the way that it's always been. But perhaps this COVID-19 presents different opportunities and different ways of working more flexibly. I know I can speak for my partner and myself. You know, we've probably never been busier, for sure. You know, we're constantly either phone call, Zoom, you know, keeping up with contact with people. Nothing's changed in that sense. It's just geography for us. It's a different location. And as leaders, you know, how much control do you want to still have to have everyone in the same place? Or are you comfortable with kind of letting go a little bit and putting your trust in your teams to work from wherever it is that they need to work from. And I do wonder if there's a little bit of learning there for leaders as well, you know, department leaders, company leaders, whoever. It's going to be different, or it could be different.
That's
The
really
issues of
interesting,
geography, of
Sarah.
course, are really important to Cumbria.
Sorry, say that again, David.
Sorry, the issues of geography are really important in Cumbria, because that
Yeah.
the whole issue of Cumbria is the geography. You know, we've got these dirty
Absolutely.
Great Lakes down the middle, and you know,
Yeah.
half the country doesn't know what the other, you know, the right hand side doesn't know what the left hand side's doing.
Mm.
And the, you know, the resources generally are spread in all the, wherever you want them. They're not there, they're the other side, you know.
Yeah.
And so we've the sort of Zoom stuff and all that sort of thing is going to help, but it's still it still doesn't get over that issue of geography. It's going to be a lot easier to do things like meetings from one side of the county to the other, but the issue of getting the staff from this side to that side is still going to be an issue, and it still takes you 2 hours to do the 40 miles from Carlisle to Whitehaven, you know. And that's still going to be an issue, because staff still has to go. So until we can do one of these beam me up Scotty things or something like that, you know, we're still going to have to wait while, you know, for Amazon to deliver right from the other side. But yeah, you know, it's not the issues are not going to be solved because suddenly people have learned how to do all this Zooming and things. The issues aren't going to go away. The issues have gone away at the moment, but once we try and get things up and running again, all those issues are just going to come back just exactly the same as they were. The only thing is, of course, that we will have a different approach, and hopefully we'll be able to see those issues in a different light and solve them in new ways. Well, that's the hope anyway. That's probably the only hope we've got.
Dale, what were you going to say?
I mean, all I was going to say was it was just an interesting observation about leaders and trust. I mean, I haven't worked in corporate for a very long time, but I know that when I did, it's not just the leaders, it's the people on the ground floor as well. When they see you coming in at whatever time or going early, their assumption is that you're skiving. They don't know that you've been to a breakfast meeting, or, you know, you've been to see a client, or you're going to a network meeting in the evening. And it's like the whole corporate culture somehow needs to change. How do you get people, I mean, it's a rhetorical question, how do you get people to actually place that trust, to realize that people can be trusted and they can stay at home and they don't have to be in the office without all that nastiness? I mean, it might have changed since I last worked in corporate, but I struggled a lot because I was out on the road often.
And I think that's a valid point. And touching on what Sarah said, what will be the new normal? Will people come in with a totally different attitude, a different outlook on life? That's going to be the interesting thing for me, I think.
Keith, I think we're Keith. Sorry. Go on. Is that you, Stuart?
On you go, Tim. I'll come to you. On you go.
I think that we're already seeing. Obviously, we have developers all over the country, so they've always worked remote, but we know they have what they've got, their tasks they've got to do. Everything's monitored, and you've got to install trust. And I think you're going to see business. I think as well, people will demand for trust. If you've got people working from home right now and they're working and they're doing, whether it be in support or whatever, there are systems now which allow businesses to monitor and do it in the right way. So I think we are in for a major change, and I embrace everything that was said. The leaders have got to change, but that's being said. So the individual, and it will change our behaviour. There's no question that, this goes on for another 3 months. People will get into a different set of behaviours. And we know that's the hardest thing to change.
Yes, yeah. Well, they always reckon, don't they? It's 21 days to kill or create a habit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
know,
So I think everyone's got to adapt. Everyone's going to have to use technology. They've got, you know, and it's about embracing, you know, technology in many ways. I mean, I laughed at it when there was a post about the good old Mr. Gates and you know, someone putting their crap, you know, develop crap technology. Well, he didn't actually develop crap technology. It's just that there was a lot of people that can't use it, right? And you know, so it comes down to as well, you know, and this goes just one other thing about schooling. I spoke to a colleague of mine, and they've got children. Was it 11, 9, 5, and 3? Right, so you can imagine that's hard going. But the lad, the eldest, is doing really well at the homeschooling. Reason being is he's in a class of 20, 25, whatever it is, but he's all the time, you know, sort of being disturbed.
yeah.
So basically, he's now way ahead of his work and everything else. So you're gonna, like in everything like this, there's winners and there's losers. There's obviously going to be children that haven't got that kind of support, that haven't got parents which are supporting. So again, this is, you know, I think we're in for this is a massive sea change in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of kids left behind, as well as a lot of those which have moved forward as well.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a good point.
I think it's worth saying there's a lot of kids who don't have access to computers, and some of the people who came up with this homeschooling and we'll send it to the computers just didn't comprehend that a lot of them just don't have access to it at all.
Yeah. Or maybe even parents that aren't interested in it.
Or Wi-Fi.
Yeah, or Wi-Fi. Yeah, true. Sorry, Stuart, what were you going to say, Matt?
No, just a couple of thoughts, really. I think that there's a tie-on really with linking to sort of leadership and change. You know, I think what I find really intriguing, I go back to this rulebook issue, and I think that fits very nicely with your 21-day statement. You know, prior to this, we were gearing up as a society and a country to deal with life after Brexit, a new trading environment. Yep, so we were. And we were very, very focused on a clean growth economy. So we had our heads focused on clean growth and a new trading relationship with the rest of the world. What's really intriguing now is if you take, there's another two levels of play that come into that. One is the new buzz phrase, that's my polite way of putting it another way, is obviously onshoring. You cannot rely on a global supply chain model anymore. Doesn't stack up, doesn't work. It's no longer something we can safely accommodate. So we're going to have to get back to manufacturing. And also, the global superpower is screwed. You know, the American economy now is in absolute carnage. Our economy is in absolute carnage. Yeah. And the economies of the world that are going to ride this wave are going to be the ones that are going to start taking the lead. So this slightly, as I would describe it, very American style that we've had for the best part of 100 years now, culture of just-in-time business, want your returns in 3 to 5 years, everything, you know, you're not successful unless you're working 20-something hours a day, blah, 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 blah. That culture is going to now start to disappear because the new world is going to have probably a higher influence of Asian culture. And that's not a bad thing. Asian businesses are typically longer term. They take a different perspective. They focus on quality when they can, certainly the Japanese side. Good long-term quality, very much, you know, and very much about, in that sense, investing in long-term. And I think if you take back to where we were before COVID, you know, onshoring, Brexit, and clean growth. So if we think about that, those kids that are going to come out of school now without what you might call the traditional university track qualifications might be far better placed to get into manufacturing economy. That's an awful lot more dynamic. You know, we've built a fraudulent economy in the last 10 or 12 years based around an education economy. Our education economy doesn't work. We've got too much money geared around education, but not enough geared around production. And so I think that reversal overall, sorry, sir, that's not a dig at education, but it's just a general observation. You know, when you start looking at, you know, there's an awful lot of education has become a business model to try and extract as much public and private money in for R&D, but it's not making anything, it's not doing anything. So we're going to be forced to make and do stuff. We're going to be forced to much more manual jobs again. And I actually think that's quite good. I think that brings a lot of the values we've talked about back to the table. So in some ways, the reset's going to be about a new world, but it's also about taking the best of our old world and bringing it back and learning from what we've done before. So I think everybody's saying the same thing. We've got to lift our eyes and embrace what's in front of us, not fear it, and look at the fact, well, we should be working more sensibly. We're going to be doing things more for ourselves. We should be doing things more sustainably in terms of our planet and our lifestyle. Well, there's not a right lot wrong with that lot. We've just got a screwed economy to live with.
I think it's a good point, because we've seen it with PPE, where manufacturers can just pivot really quite quickly and start to produce things that, you know, that's needed. It isn't as if they can sort of say, well, we aren't set up for it, we can't do this. Well, you're right what you said, because we decided a few years ago just to go down the financial and the tech side. So we became the financial centre for Europe, hence why they were saying, you know, when Brexit happens, most of the banks will disappear off to Germany. This has stopped all that. It's put everything on hold. So we need to reset. We need to press the reset button and have a really good think about where we go, what we do, and how we do it, and how we're perceived in the world. You know, I mean, everybody says made in Britain, it was a great thing. Let's do what we've done with this. Let's have a rethink about it and make sure that we are.
But I don't know that it's going to create a lot of manual jobs. I think, yes, I agree with everything, but it's going to be mainly automation. It'll be mainly robotics and automatic machinery that'll come out of it, not manual jobs.
You think there'll be more sort of AI sort of stuff, David?
Yeah. So I mean, there'll be manual jobs because this stuff breaks down and needs to be repaired, and a lot of it'll be heavily mechanical as well as electronic. So there won't be just computer jobs and data jobs. There will actually be a lot of mechanical jobs as well. But the actual manual handling that we've been used to, I don't think we'll see it to start off with, but I don't think that's where the future is. I think the future is where people actually maintain the machines. If we do it right. If we don't do it right, we'll end up with the machines maintaining the people. But, you know, with a bit of luck, the people will end up supporting and being supported by the machines.
Yeah.
Do you think as well? I mean, we are in the fourth industrial revolution now.
Yeah.
You know, in the Internet of Things.
Yeah.
I think this, you know, if this has just totally accelerated that, you know, that revolution, hasn't it? Really, if you think about it, and you know, you will still have traditional manufacturing methods, but we know, I know from the organisations that I've worked with recently, you know, there is more development and more reliance on robotics, AR, VR, you know, that type of discipline. So, you know, whether we wanted to be steered towards a digital world or not, and this is kind of forcing our hand to a certain degree, I think.
How do you think it'll change Spain, Rose?
Difficult to say, really. I mean, we live quite rural, to be honest with you, where we are. You've still got all your little bakers and your little butchers, and it's quite a lot of it is, well, Dale lives here as well. It's very different. Obviously, there's still a massive amount of stuff that goes on in Spain, not necessarily where we are. Apart from one enormous marble factory, which I think, I'm not even sure if they're actually back up and running yet. I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't know. I mean, I've never lived in a city, and I've never really been involved in those sort of things. We came out here to get away from that sort of a life. Unfortunately, we ended up doing the same blooming thing for a long time. But no, I mean, we came out to break away from it, and we don't even have television. We don't watch television. That's
a good thing, I think.
If I want to find out the news, I go on their website on BBC and read the news. We were hooked on soaps when we lived in England. I left my shopping in Tesco's one day to get home and go and watch Coronation Street when I realised what time it was. I mean, that is outrageous.
That's shameful, Rose.
It is. It is.
Well, the soaps are drying up because they're not filming.
But no, it's a different way of life out here, and I think there's still a lot of. I mean, we live with there's farmers here that produce local produce. Like I say, we've got the local bakers, the local butchers, and you could probably, as some villages have done out here, they have actually blocked any entrances and exits to the village, and they are completely able to be self-sufficient within their village, so that nobody could bring the virus in. But obviously, it's not all like that. But it's interesting that way of life can still be led.
Yeah, too true, and because it's something that we don't see.
No.
Very rarely, anyway. There will be parts of the country that will see it,
but it does pose a question for the future. So one of the biggest conundrums we've got at the moment, I suspect, as an economy, is the high street. So the big multiples are going, how on earth do I survive? I survive by negotiating a 5-year rent-free period with my landlord, and then I survive by negotiating a rate-free period with the local authority. Well, that doesn't work. So then you go back to, well, actually, and that's where I think, you look at the most dynamic economies and dynamic ecosystems are generally where your economy is local. Little towns are doing quite well now with local butchers and bakers and coffee shops and all that sort of stuff, quite successfully, because there's a big retired population in this country. People are living longer. They've got disposable income when they retire typically, so they're spending it locally because they want to do that. So I think it presents a really interesting opportunity. And David, to your point, I agree that when I referred to manual, I suppose I was thinking more of what you might call primary production processes, which is actually back to sort of land management, factory management, and all those things. I think we're just moving to an interesting time.
No, I agree, mate. I agree. Right, guys. Right. Nearly 90 minutes, and it's absolutely flew by. Can't believe it, can you? It's been like, this last bit has been brilliant. It's like question time. I just wish I looked as good as Fiona Bruce.
Make you wear a wig next time.
It's not going to happen, I don't think, Sarah. God almighty. No, that's not going to happen. Right, I'd just like to thank Sarah for her first part, which was brilliant, which has sparked some really, really good conversations.
Can we give her a round of applause, Keith?
We certainly can. And thank you guys for joining. It's been absolutely brilliant. And I think what we'll do is, I've really enjoyed this. I think what we'll do is maybe in the group, we'll pick a topic and then we'll discuss it. And I think that would be really good. So we could do, I don't know, we'll put it into the group. I'll put a post in to say, what we've done. And if there's a topic that anybody wants to talk about, because I think that's worked really, really well. It's been great for Sarah to kick this off. That's been perfect. So no, thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Keith.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.
Everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.